This is a special presentation of Way 31 Sports. Way 31, your home for high school football.
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night. Hello, Alabama, find a comfortable spot. We got high school football and it's coming out high. Now here we are and the lights are shining bright. Yeah, Way 31 is rocking all right. With Nolan, Max, Xavier, and Antonio. It's the McCurry Band and Car Rental Big Game Friday night.
With the end of the regular season brings the beginning of the postseason. 43 area teams strap it up this week with one collective goal in mind: win a state championship. Those dreams and that journey began tonight. It's Big Game Friday Night Playoff Edition. Hello and welcome in. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Nolan Knight, joined here by Max Cohan. And Max, the postseason is finally here.
Playoffs, yeah. It's win or go home this week as we get our first look at who has what it takes to advance to the second round.
Yeah, two teams with loads of talent squared off, Decatur and Fort Payne, fighting for their playoff lives. Sports reporter Xavier Rary was on the sidelines for this one.
A matchup more than 70 years in the making. The Decatur Red Raiders and Fort Payne Wildcats, both looking for their first playoff win of the decade.
If you don't play well, you don't win.
One team no stranger to November football.
It's been a team thing. It's been a team effort.
The other clawing their way back to prominence.
Got a little more experience, a little bit more confidence about us.
This is the Big Game Friday Night Playoff Game of the Week.
Hey, both the Wildcats and the Red Raiders come into this one at 8-2 apiece, and both teams are looking to get their first playoff victory of the 2020s. I spoke with both coaches earlier today, and they say that they're expecting this game here tonight to be an absolute battle until the end. Let's see how this one played out. We travel to Wildcat Stadium in Fort Payne for this first-round playoff matchup. Fort Payne looking to win its first playoff game since 2019. Decatur hasn't had a playoff win since 2018, and we're going to pick the action up in the first quarter. Quarterback Dax Varnador takes the snap and floats this pass downfield, hanging in the air long enough for J-Ron McDaniel to come up with the interception. McDaniel, with nothing but green turf ahead of him, cruises his way into the end zone. Decatur goes up in the first 7-0. And on the very next Red Raiders possession, Ellis Dickman is going to hand this one off to Ryan Kirk, who shows off his agility and athleticism, escaping not one but two Wildcat defenders before picking up the first down. And that would lead to Dickman on this quarterback keeper. He's going to roll right and find nothing but pay dirt for Decatur's second touchdown of the half. And their defense proved to be dominant in the first half as well. And Varnador's going to take the snap and fling this one to Joseph Greathouse, but the drive wouldn't lead to points as Decatur shuts out Fort Payne in the first half, 17-0.
And it's Decatur who advances to the second round of the playoffs with a wire-to-wire victory, defeating Fort Payne 31-8.
And I'm with Decatur's head football coach, Jerry Adcock. Coach, listen, last time you all won a playoff game and last time you all had a winning record, they were both in 2018. Talk to me about what tonight's win means to you.
Well, I mean, you know, it's about these kids, you know, to see what they've done and what they've gone through and the commitment they've made to get to this point. And I told you earlier, I mean, honestly, it's about the love they have for each other. I mean, it really is. That sounds corny, but it's the truth. These guys love each other. They play for each other. They're friends. They hang out. They do what you want teams to do, and they listen to us. And they want to succeed. They wanted to erase and get back to where Decatur football was and what we knew it was all about.
At the end of the game right there, one of your players got an interception. Yeah. Right, just got to talk to me about how you were feeling about that one.
Okay, I told him at halftime, I said, look, I'm in fourth quarter. When the beginning of fourth quarter, I said, you're going to have to pick one off. And I said, it's going to happen. You're going to pick one off. And when you do, I'm going to get you something nice to eat. You just tell me what you want. So when he came over here, he said, Coach, I love sweets. I said, you got it, brother.
Well, Coach, this win is pretty sweet for you all. Congratulations on the victory.
Ride home will be nice.
Yes, sir. Indeed. And again, the final score in this one is 31-8. Decatur defeats Fort Payne. They now move to the second round of the playoffs. Again, it is their first playoff victory since 2018. But for now, we are reporting in Fort Payne. Xavier Wary, Way 31 Sports.
All right, so it's Decatur advancing to the second round with the win and one of the best matchups of the week.
Another big game we saw tonight in 6A was the Battle of the Trojans. Muscle Shoals hosting Hazel Green, a team they've won all 8 meetings against. We jump in with Muscle Shoals leading by 3 scores. Hazel Green would attempt to get something going on offense, but the Trojans defense, the other Trojans of course, said not in my house. Didn't matter if it was a run or a pass. It wasn't working for Hazel Green as the home team had their number, keeping them behind the sticks. But things were quite different on the other side. Jalen Goodwin with the blocks. He needs to show off the speed. And then check this out. An unbelievably nasty stiff arm at the end of this one. What a way to cap that one off. Trojans had to win this game. This time it's the ones from Muscle Shoals that take it 58-7. The Tigers still looking for their first playoff win under head coach Brian Moore and facing a Bucks team they've never lost to, and they get off to a great start early on. It's tight end Stidden Hageman, and he fights his way through the Buckhorn Bucks defense for a touchdown to give them a 7-0 lead, and they're not stopping there. Jack Smith gives the handoff to Rye Fletcher, who tells the Bucks defense, ain't no stopping me now, as he rushes all the way to the other end zone as that lead grows. It would only get worse for the Bucks as Rye Fletcher is at it again, pulling off his best Devin Hester impression as he runs this one all the way back, a long touchdown. Brian Moore gets his first playoff win, and Hartselle advances with the dominant 52-7 victory.
All right, let's move our attention to Class 7A. The state's biggest schools bring the biggest matchups. The Region 4 winners in Austin were at home tonight hosting Vestavia Hills in the first round of the 7A Yoffs. And this is a tough draw for an Austin team that was coming off of a loss to Huntsville their last time out. We pick up in the first quarter, and De'Aaron Young looks to get something going. Rolling right, connecting with Nicholas Creighton for a Black Bears first down. But that drive would stall, and the Rebels would go to work. John Paul had back to pass. He connects with Mason Perigo as Vestavia were hoping to add to a lead, but the Black Bears D came out hitting tonight. Michael Burton laying the lumber there with the big hit, but the drive would finish in a Rebels score. Paul Head follows his blockers. He's across the goal line for the score as Austin falls in the first round of the playoffs 52-10. While at Florence tonight, the Falcons had their hands full as they welcomed Hewitt-Trussville to town in another 7A showdown. And the Huskies came out driving, a nice pitch and catch here to pick up a first down, and they would continue to get it done through the air. Peyton Floyd rolls right, finds Donovan Price, and the big tight end rumbles and stumbles his way across the goal line for a Hewitt-Trussville touchdown. But Florence would have a response. Jet sweep for Jaleel Hurley, the future Crimson Tide DB, takes this one around the right side for a nice pickup, and then Leo Glover finishes off the drive. Some hard running for the Falcons as this one was tied up at 7, but in the end of the first, the Huskies would end up taking a lead, and they would never look back, 38-20. The finals. Here's a look at the other two 7A matchups from North Alabama tonight. Bob Jones falls to one of the state's best in Hoover, 45-19, while at Thompson, Huntsville falls to the Warriors in round 1, 34-0. So here's a look at the 7A bracket after those first round games. The Huskies will face off against the Buccaneers, while Vestavia Hills and Thompson will battle it out for a trip to the region championship game. All right, so that'll do it for Class 7A and the Class 6A playoffs. But let's go ahead and take a quick time out.
But don't go anywhere. Coming up next, we take a look at the Class 5A and 4A playoffs.
Stay tuned for more Big Game Friday night.
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night.
You're watching Big Game Friday night on Race 31.
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night.
Welcome back into Big Game Friday night, everyone. The postseason is here, and when you think of the most talented teams in the area, many of them have one thing in common. They're a Class 4A school.
Yeah, that's right. One of the state's best is Priceville, a perfect 10-0 entering tonight's matchup. Central Florence and Priceville meeting in the playoffs for the first time, starting late in the third quarter and down by a score. Bulldogs quarterback Jackson Cricket runs it in for himself to even this game up with 1 quarter to go. The Bulldogs keeping the pressure on as Mason Carty takes the handoff and shows off the dance moves. The 1-2 step in and out of trouble and into the end zone for a Bulldogs touchdown. Central Road does not want to go home. A quick handoff leads to a touchdown for them, bringing the Wildcats within a score, but it's not enough as who else but Mason Carty once again tells the Wildcats D to stay back as he runs this one all the way home, shutting the door on the Central comeback. The Bulldogs' magical season continues as they win 49-28. We caught up with Priceville head coach Chris Foster on his thoughts after the massive win.
You know, I think it's going to be important for us to make sure we regain our composure. I felt like we lost it there at the end of this game. Overall, you know, I was proud of our team for fixing some things that we're doing wrong on offense in the first half and having a good second half running the ball. But overall, you know, I'm pretty proud of our kids.
The Bulldogs will take on the Oneonta Redskins in the next round. And Deshler looking to keep their undefeated season going against Madison County tonight, meeting for the first time since 2007. And Deshler takes the Battle of the Tigers to stay perfect, 68-34.
Yeah, there are so many talented teams in 4A this year. West Morgan, another team that have dreams of a state championship. They were hosting a playoff game tonight, welcoming Westminster Christian to town this week. And West Morgan looking to open the playoffs with the win over the Wildcats. The Rebels get the offense going with some tough running in the second quarter. Big stiff arm there, and then Tony Townsend caps off the drive, takes it around the right end and into the end zone. 6-0 Rebels, and the students were loving it, and the fans were also loving the Rebels' tough defense. Brandon Mush drops back to pass for Westminster, but here comes the Rebels' Maurice Johnson to take them down. West Morgan takes over, and they look to build on that slim lead. Jalen Fletcher hauls one in to move the Rebels deep into Wildcat territory, and then Connor Dillard with the tough run up the middle to get West Morgan in the red zone. This game was back and forth early on, but in the end, it was all West Morgan as they take this one 27-7. Well, at Randolph, the Raiders were hosting Rogers in what on paper looked like it was going to be a great matchup, but that's without accounting for the talent. My man Nick Strong, check him out here, makes a busted play into a highlight play, taking what turned into a direct snap to the house to give Randolph an early 7-0 lead. And that would be the only time the Raiders went to Nick Strong. Later, from inside the 5, they go back to the senior running back, and again, he finds the end zone. Rogers would try to get something going. Grant Killen back to pass. He's going to tuck it and run after seeing nothing downfield. Makes a couple of men miss before he's finally hit hard. But the story in this one was Nick Strong. He had an incredible first half as the Raiders advanced to the second round with a 54-15 win over Rogers.
Moving our attention to the 5A playoffs, the Brewer Patriots have only handed Scottsboro an L once. Tonight they look to do it again and knock them out of the playoffs. So we head out to Pat Trammell Stadium where the Wildcats lead 17-0, but not for long. Just outside the end zone, the Cats fake the handoff and go with the toss to Thomas Rackler. He's got the angle and he's got 6. That score puts Scottsboro up 24-0 right before the half, but the Pats were going to try and avoid being held scoreless before the break. Caden Childers back to pass, and he takes a little jog before throwing this one way up there. Hunter Knighton comes down with it, but he hits the ground inside the 20 as the clock hits 0. Wouldn't matter because it would be ruled an illegal forward pass. The score was 24-0 at the half and 45-14 at the end. A big win for the Wildcats. Guntersville and Fairview meeting for the 3rd season in a row. Wildcats winners of the last 2 meetings, and they were on the attack early. Eli Morrison fakes the handoff and rolls with the keeper, stepping on the gas before throwing it in reverse to get around the defenders for a Guntersville touchdown. Man, that was pretty. And the Wildcats were just clicking on offense. This time Morrison actually hands it off, and Evan Taylor gets to show off his sprint speed this time. Eventually he's taken down, but the Cats stay on the ground. Another handoff, and this one is a house call. Julian Jordan straight to the end zone. Gotta love the effort by the defender to never give up on the play, but in the end, it's all the same. Guntersville will face Ramsey in the second round, advancing with the 24-13 win. Just about any team that has a chance to compete in the 5A playoffs this year.
Yeah, you can say that again. The Arab Knights have a chance to be a team that's playing the last week of the season, but they would have to get past an East Limestone team that has shown some life this year. However, A-Lab is leading East Limestone 47-7 in the third when we pick it up. East has it on their own 20. Knights defense, they were swarming. Xavier Edwards gets stopped hard by Josh Lowe, and then after a punt, A-Rap just kept their foot on the gas. Aiden O'Reilly scrambling, getting beat up there, but gets the first down for the Knights. And later on first down again, O'Reilly, this time down to the 15, another A-Rap first down, setting up a 15-yard zigzag for, you guessed it, O'Reilly. Another A-Rap touchdown. The Knights take this one easily, 54-14. They're looking good at the right time. They're moving on to the second round of the playoffs. Head coach Lee Osmond is proud of his guys after this one.
Never won a playoff game at home. We've never won 10 games. So there were a lot of firsts, and you know, going into this, I was kind of nervous about them, you know, getting nervous and getting wide-eyed, but I never sensed that out of them.
The Knights will now take on the Moody Blue Devils in the next round this upcoming Friday. And finally, in the other 5A playoff showdown, Boaz hit the road to take on Russellville, and the Pirates fall 63-10 to end their season. All right, let's go ahead and call our second time out of the night, but don't go anywhere.
Coming up next on Big Game Friday night, we talk more state playoffs, Class 3A, 2A, and 1A. Coming up next.
Stay tuned for more Big Game Friday night. Let's go Eagles!
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night. It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night.
Hi, we're the Fort Payne High School Drumline, and you're watching Big Game Friday night on Way 31.
All right, how about that? A big congratulations to the Flow Trampoline Park Spirit Award winners.
Yeah, the Fort Payne Marching Band consists of 150 members and receive consistent superior ratings in multiple Best in Class awards, and they make Fort Payne home games a staple in Northeast Alabama.
All right, well, let's get back to some football. Pisgah was hosting Hatton tonight in the Class 2A playoffs. And they're meeting for the first time ever tonight in this first round battle. The Hornets searching for their first playoff win in 20 years, and they weren't wasting any time. Riley Kirby throws out a pressure to Kyle Hampton, and he's got open field. Kirby thinks he's got the touchdown, but he gets knocked out just short of the 5. On the very next play, it's Carson Reed on the feed, and this guy's determined, taking 3 Eagles into the end zone with him on the score. They go for 2 and miss, so they're only up 6 as they go for the kick. But they opt for the onside, and this one bounces off the up man's hands, and the Hornets recover. The Eagles would tighten up on defense, and so the Hornets have to go for it on 4th and long. Kirby says, someone's got to be down there, right? That is correct. It's Tayshawn Love with the gloves, and after a successful 2-point attempt, it's 14-0, but the Eagles couldn't be held down for long. Jet Jeffrey right up the middle, and that's some track meet speed. See you in the end zone. They go for 2 and get it to cut into the lead as the Eagles fly high in this one, 40-20 the final. Another matchup between unfamiliar teams with Falkville hosting Collinsville. The Blue Devils dominate in this one, 42-7. And like most of the teams in the state, Fife has dominated Red Bay, winning each and every meeting between the two teams, including tonight, 55-8 the final. And it's the Golden Bears taking down North Sand Mountain easily, 49-14.
Yeah, in the Class 3A playoffs, the Madison Academy Mustangs, following a slow start to their season, have won every game since and welcomed Phil Campbell to town for their first round matchup. And this Phil Campbell team was a little bit of a surprise this season, and despite falling behind 3 scores quickly, they put themselves right back in the game. Kick off to Hudson Hyde, and look out. He cuts across the grain, gets a couple of key blocks, brings this one right past your living room, and then he leaves the Mustangs in its dust. 21-7 ball game. The Bobcats right back in it, but the Mustangs on their next drive would go right back down the field. Stop me if you heard this connection this season. Carson Crehan to Mario Brewer for the first down. Then later in the drive, you guessed it, Crehan to Brewer again. And on his second effort, he fights his way in for the score to put Madison Academy up 3 scores as the Mustangs look good in their first round game. They're moving on to the second round after a 49-28 win. And the Mustangs will take on Sylvania in the next round. The Rams hosted Fayette County, and they came out on top 35-6. The final in that one, the Panthers and Bulldogs will go head-to-head next week. Region winners Mars Hill dominated at home tonight against Danville, while Geraldine was on the road and picked up the playoff win 24-8 over Winfield. Colbert County, they hit the road to take on Pennington. The Indians looked good in the 57-28 win, while Lauderdale County was hosting Vinemont for a first-round matchup, and the Tigers advanced with a 41-7 victory.
It's been a while since the Valleyhead Tigers won a playoff game, making it to November for the 4th season in a row. The team looking for their first playoff win since 2007 against Phillips. And in another meeting of teams that have never played each other, the goal was simple for both teams: end their playoff losing streaks. Valleyhead did just that with the 61-20 victory. Well, it's time that we take our final time out of the night.
Yeah, but don't go anywhere. Coming up next, we share with you tonight's Fan of the Night, as well as tonight's Top Lights.
Stay tuned for more Big Game Friday night.
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night.
You're watching Big Game Friday night. Go Patriots!
It's the McCurry Big Game Friday night.
Welcome back into Big Game Friday night, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight.
This show would be nothing if it wasn't for the fans of high school football, so each week we spotlight one. This week we met Tyler Eady of Austin High School.
My name's Tyler Eady, and I'm the Big Game Friday night fan of the night. Go Black Bears!
Big congratulations to Tyler Eady, our premier urgent care fan of the night. Tyler is a senior at Austin High School, and while you can catch him in the stands cheering on the football team in the fall, you can also catch him on the diamond during the spring. He's part of the baseball team. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the playoff edition of Big Game Friday night. Thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight and all season.
We would also like to take this time to thank our radio sponsors for helping make this show possible. We literally could not do it without them.
All right, also a big thank you to our incredible producers, Sarah Jones and Tim Collins, as well as all of our shooters, floor directors, and everyone back in production for helping making this show great each and every week.
Well, let's finish tonight's show the same way we do each and every week with your Big Game Friday night top lights.
Good night, everybody.
Watching a special presentation of Wave 31 Sports.